Hi, this is Kerry Artak with your weekly Bitcoin analysis for the week of Monday, June 8th, 2026. I'm just going to show a few charts today as opposed to backtracking and showing all the events that have played out over the last few years. I'm just going to cut right to the chase, and that is the fact that last week we settled below in Bitcoin a significant long-term channel bottom, nearly a decade in the making. You can go back to this D17 high. There is a trend line here that formed that we tested back in the 2025 July. There's also a long-term wave count I could take us back to basically the 21 high minus the 22 low. If you add that distance between these two back to the 21 high, it takes you right into this 122,000 area. So you know all that if you've been watching the weekly Bitcoin analysis for the last year, two, or three. But this is a significant development. And I've been mentioning if we violate this channel bottom, that this 15,000, 19,000 area, not out of the question as a by the end of the year. I'm kind of asking that as a question. I mean, this took from October of 25 to February of 26. This was about a 4-month sell-off. We'll call it 5 months. And we may be in another one of those legs right now. Now, as any market continues to decline in value, its average daily range typically contracts as well. But we could see a pretty significant downdraft here. To say that I expect this, yes, I do. As long as we continue closing below the 62,681 long-term channel bottom, the emphasis remains to the downside. 49,363 is this pullback low from August of 24. This is likely, well, with the volatility like last week, we could see it this week, but this is in all likelihood what I'd call a 3 to 5 week objective. 49,363. Might we bottom out here for a month or longer? Sure. And when you do bottom out in a certain area, you can then begin tracking or anticipating any of the resistance levels that would then indicate upward continuation, like a buy signal following the testing of that. So for instance, if we were to say a fall into this zone over the next 3 to 5 weeks, let's say that the low is right here in the middle of July, I would then draw something like this. That would be our indication for upward continuation through the rest of the year. We're not there, but where we are in terms of that is this. I'm kind of jumping the gun here a little bit, and this is to say that if we do close the week back above 62,681, that is it is the rejection of a long-term sell signal, which should be considered a sign of strength anyway. In this case, I think it is more of a near to mid-term sign of strength. That is to say, within a month or two, 82,485 in reach, where we could top out on a monthly, possibly quarterly basis. It would be a settlement above 82,485 where Bitcoin would take on a decisively bullish framework through the rest of the year. And I would indeed then anticipate, this could be a 3 to 5 month rally, could take the better part of a year, but I would expect this full channel extension that is a sister formation, 82,485. It's in the 120s right now. Once again, you still have that long-term wave count up here. So yes, it would be in the 120s that I would anticipate possibly within 3 to 5 months of closing above 82,485. But we are not even anticipating 82,485 because we are below 62,681. And what that has set up, as I say, is the 15,000 and 19,000 area. This high back in 2017 and this pullback low, significant one back in November of 22. I think this area is in play again. On the way down, 49,363 can contain monthly selling pressures. And, we could pause long enough where the market could turn up, and we'll just kind of see where we are at that point. This channel bottom will be a significant ceiling of resistance through the rest of the year, provided we don't close back above it. It is our defining pivot point, longer term, and below which this market is telling us, or at least me, 49,363 likely by the end of July, and by the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised to see this lower zone. Closing back above 62,681 neutralizes this notion, this idea. No longer anticipating 49,363 or the mid to upper 10,000 region, but rather recovery to 82,485. And so we're close to this level. If we happen to close the week above 62,681, and if you're short or if you're out of the market, you can actually go long, anticipating by the end of July, I think, 82,485, where this market faces an important test that defines really the rest of the year. Do we top out from here and fall away again, or do we close above it and launch a significant rally through the rest of the year? I'm going to leave it at that for this week's Bitcoin analysis. You have a great week.